We're here with a team from I Care a Lot. Director J Blakeson, stars Rosamund Pike, Peter Dinklage, and Eiza Gonzalez. Thank you so much for doing this, and thanks for the film.
You're very welcome.
For having us.
Now, this movie is hilarious, but also horrifying in some ways, and it's also become weirdly timely. Did you have any idea that long-term care homes would become so relevant?
Well, I think they sort of become relevant to us all eventually, but yeah. I didn't think they'd come quickly. But no, obviously it's a terrible thing that they become very relevant. But I guess it's quite good that the film helps sort of like bring a bit of attention to the fact that they're not great to start with, and we've been sort of like shown and highlighted the fact that there's there's a lot of weaknesses in the system that kind of fall apart pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. With a film like this, you really have to balance on a kind of a knife's edge tonally. Every step of the way, I imagine the script, the performances, the editing, the music, all of those different choices. And I'm wondering, how did you land on the specific tone you wanted to strike, and what choices did you have to make to get there?
Well, early on, after hearing about these kind of stories, when I wanted to make a film about it, I thought if I make just like a straight drama, it'd be almost like too hard to watch because it's such a horrifying situation that I wanted to make something that was a bit more darkly satirical. So that sort of the idea of doing it like that came quite quickly because I've always loved films like The Wolf of Wall Street or Dr. Strangelove, or something that takes quite a serious subject and then kind of plays fast and loose with it in a way that's wildly entertaining but also sort of horrifying, and that was what I wanted to go to. But it was tough all the way through. I mean, as we were making it, one day we were doing something that was horrifying, the next day we were doing something that was ridiculous, and sort of keeping your head in the right space. I mean, I always knew what I wanted the tone to be, but I think for some of the crew and for some of the cast, especially like the day players who only came in for like one scene, it's like understanding we were trying to do was kind of difficult to explain. So it was just more of like just giving them a nudge and giving them kind of the instinct of what we were going for.
Mm-hmm. Rosamund, you've got quite a lot to sink your teeth into here in terms of playing Marla Grayson. What for you was the core of this woman who seems to have no morals whatsoever?
You think so?
I don't know. You tell us.
I really liked the chance to play someone who was seemingly devoid of shame. I think shame is a very, it's a very sort of beleaguering thing that we all have to deal with. And I read this script and I thought, this woman has no shame. And I can't imagine what life would be like if I operated with zero shame. And I thought that was very interesting, and I think she's sort of shamelessly ambitious in a way that she owns completely, and I like the fact that she's playing fast and loose with the rules, but she's not exactly breaking them. She's not actually doing anything illegal. The system is set up, I suppose. The sort of American system is set up for people like Marla Grayson to win. Really, it's kind of there for the having, and I found that very appealing. And I just had never met anyone who talked like her and kind of also seemed to have not much fear. That's another thing. I've been very drawn recently to characters who display a lot of courage. It's been one of the sort of driving forces behind how I pick things, but Marla, I wouldn't necessarily say she has courage. She's got balls, but it's the no fear. I think the other women I've played who've had courage have also had fear, right. And Marla she's not very scared of dying.
Right.
All these things are new for me. The shamelessness, the lack of fear of death. I mean, yes, she's frightened that Eiza will die. I mean, that's her sort of. If she has any sort of moral center, it's with regards to her love for Fran. Mm-hmm. But in terms of her own life, she's plays pretty fast and loose with it, I'd say. Mm-hmm. And those things interested me. So yeah, a lot to sink my teeth into, sure.
Eiza, you and Rosamund have some really great scenes together. There's a kind of a delicious sort of conspiratorial quality to your relationship. But it's also, there's a kind of a feminist core to the film as well, because they see themselves as being women who were sort of striking back in a way. At least that was how I responded to the story. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how you created that relationship of us against the world in a way.
Yeah, I think that, well, first of all, it was really easy for both of us because Rosamund was just so committed. And I think we had some alchemy that happened immediately that really helped the movie, and it really helped on screen. We really had a connection, and sort of in our wild selves as actresses, we understood what they were going for and truly believed in these characters as flawed human beings. But I think we never approached them with judgment. And I think that that's something that really helps when you're creating women like this, because I feel like society has educated especially women to feel what she was saying, shame, embarrassment, or, you know, the fact that they're so open about their relationship and you know, the way that they love each other so passionately and the way that they do their job so passionately. There's no, besides all of that, there's no judgment to themselves. And I think that the way that Rosamund approaches her acting is the same way, as there's no judgment. She just takes in as a partner while doing the movie. She's just always taking whatever you're giving her. And I think vice versa. So it created a great alchemy. And also the writing was really helpful. You know, Jay really created women that were, as she said, when we read the script, it was something magical about them. And for me, funny enough, I had always done the other side, which I had always played sort of this relentless, heartless type of characters that has no fear and go for what they want. And for the first time, I had the chance to be fragile and vulnerable, which I think it's something rare. People really don't see me that way, just because there's, again, all these stereotypes of what a woman is, if she's beautiful, if she's Latin, if she's, so we really broke with the archetypes with the characters. And I'm honestly endlessly grateful to the cast and to Jay for giving us the opportunity of kind of stepping up for us, and then stepping out of our comfort zone and really creating meaty characters. And the script just gave me exactly, I feel like, what we've been waiting for as women on the screen. You know, men, as he said, had the Wolf of Wall Street. They've always had this shameless characters and people root for them, but we sort of taught society that women can't be that way because it's looked down upon. And so this movie just never ends. You know, when you think that they're gonna revindicate, it's like, oh, like, and that's what it really makes this story interesting and exciting, I think, as an audience.
Mm-hmm. Peter, one of the great things about the film and the way it unfolds is that who's the good guy, who's the bad guy seems to shift, and you're really not sure all the way along. And when your character comes in, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't watched it yet, but when your character comes in, he perhaps seems like he's on one end of that spectrum, but then that shifts through the course of the movie. You talk a little bit about how you pitched your performance and your understanding of the character so that we could see all of those different elements.
Well, yeah, I think it had a lot to do with this guy that I play coming in as one thing, and then having Rosamund's character of Marla sort of changing his notion of who he even is. Because Marla comes at him with such an honesty about who she is, especially the way Rosamund plays it brilliantly. My guy, seems like the bad guy, and he does some terrible things, but he sort of kind of is a lot more cowardly than she is, because he hides behind a lot of guns and muscle that do most of his dirty work for him, as opposed to Marla, who gets her hands very dirty and is honest about it. So yeah, I found that to be really, really fun. Having her character sort of break my character down in many ways, and sort of him realizing through the course of that who he actually is.
Mm-hmm. Jay, it's been 11 years since the disappearance of Alice Creed, and I remember that premiere so well at our festival at the Ryerson Theater, and just how you played with the audience in that movie too, in terms of just, you know, shifting their perspectives as they were watching the genre film unfold. it feels like that's something that really is appealing to you. And to do that, you need the right cast who can kind of play those tonal shifts as they go through the film. Can you talk a little bit about just the appeal of that kind of storytelling for you, and then also what kind of actors, in terms of the cast you have here, can do that well?
I mean, I am interested in that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm you know, in the film, Marla says there's no such thing as good people, and I think there's no such thing as bad people either. I think everybody's just a person. They do good things and bad things, and we can be easily manipulated. And I'm sort of really interested in that sort of area of how good people do bad things and bad people do good things, and also about sort of audience expectation, because like everybody goes to see a movie is so versed in the rules of movies, and so like in this one and in Alice Creed, you just show a character and you put them in a certain kind of suit and a certain kind of car and have the driver look a certain way, and they automatically have written like the next kind of 20 minutes of the movie in their head. And so if you just do those things right, like the beginning of Alice Creed, I tell you nothing. At the beginning of this, you know, you sort of understand from the voiceover that like Marla is probably kind of a bit mercenary, but then you see her in the courtroom and then you sort of get wrapped up in what she's saying. And she said that she cares and she sort of justifies everything she's doing, and she's got a good point, you know what I mean? And you go along with the sales pitch for a while. And I just sort of love that thing of, as a viewer and as a filmmaker, being sort of taken along for the ride and not knowing quite where you are, and it being a bit woozy and lost at sea. And because I feel like they're the films that sort of constantly surprise you. If they sort of kind of give you the sort of, it's all in a kind of a font that you recognize, but none of the words are in the right order, and it looks like it's a sort of film that you recognize, but then it sort of turns into something else that surprises you. And so I always love doing that and playing with sort of the rules. But with the actors, you just got to get really good actors. And I think if you get really good actors, you just trust them to be good, you know. So you try and get the best people that you wanted to work with for a while, and then, you know, and that's I got a load of those in this movie.
Yeah, and then it gets the second choice.
And you do. I mean, I never write with actors in mind, but you just need somebody who, when they're playing it earnestly, you believe them. So every moment in the film, you believe them. If they're being bad, you believe them. If they're acting good, believe them. It's like you need to believe that Marla is ruthless, but you've also got to really believe that she is in love with Fran. You know, you need to believe she's very, very sad, and you just need somebody who's going to trust you and go with you, but somebody who just has the chops to do it. And obviously, Rosamund is brilliant in the film and has everything that I needed to make it work, as does everybody else in the movie. And having these people together and having them interact with each other, and obviously casting people who are slightly surprising maybe for the kind of the roles that they would play. They're not the kind of people you'd automatically assume on paper to be these characters. And I think the audience loves that they're surprised that it's not just, oh, it's that guy, he always plays those things, you know. And to choose, a lot of the time, choosing actors who weren't really often known to be sort of themselves in real life so much. Do you know what I mean? That they kind of like just disappear into roles. Yeah. And so the characters become the characters, and you can sort of really, so you don't know what the hell's going on in the movie. I think that always kind of leads to, as a viewer and as a filmmaker, like a rewarding experience.
Mm-hmm. Last thing I'll ask, we're probably all headed this way, I guess, almost if we're lucky, at one point or another, either ending up in a long-term care home or having a loved one who's there. I had my mother in a long-term care home for about a year and a half. She passed last year. So I spent a lot of time in these places. This is a satire, it's a dark comedy, it's a lot of fun, but is there a kind of a deeper message about just how much attention we pay to these kinds of places? Did you think that as you were making it, all of you, actually?
I mean, yes. I mean, like, there's another line in the film where she says, "Don't underestimate old people." And like, they have this thing of like treating old people like children. Yeah. And everybody in a home has had a life and is full of experience and full of, you know, there's good people, there's bad people, there's all sorts of people who've done all sorts of crazy, interesting, weird things. And we just put them in a chair in front of a TV and give them sedatives. You know what I mean? It's like, I find that sort of really sad and kind of criminal that that's what we do, and we don't ever associate ourselves with that. So I think if the film tells you anything, it's just to lift the rock up and to have a look at it, and hopefully to say, you know, don't exploit people for money who are kind of vulnerable like old people.
Yeah. I mean, it was on. Yeah, it's on your mind all the time, and you know, that care homes, there are certain guests, I suppose you'd call them, who pay more. You know, I know they particularly like having people for a short time recovering from operations because they tend to have good insurance. And, you know, they are a business, and you just think there are people, obviously there are very, very good people who you know, care for the elderly, but of course there are people who exploit, because, I mean, you know, and of course the finger in our film is also pointed at children, at the children of some of these elderly people who can kind of assuage their own consciences by feeling that their mother, father is well taken care of by a legal guardian, you know, and they feel that they can sort of assuage their guilt or fear of, you know, that they might not have done enough by saying, you know, we've given her the best possible service, you know, it's expensive and we're paying for it. And, you know, they're not really analyzing the accounts and seeing exactly where that money's going. I mean, when you do a bit of digging on the subject of this film, on the subject of legal guardianship, and you can see how it can be done, you know, that at your hourly rate of $600 an hour, yes, you're going to charge that if you're going out to buy thermal underwear for your client for Christmas. And even if you're buying for 4 people at the same time, each one is going to be charged at $600 an hour. I mean, it's criminal, and yet it's legal. So is it criminal? You know?
That's weird for me. That what you're saying, because I come from, you know, coming from a country like Latin countries are just so used to taking care of their own families. You know, that's kind of a part of the tradition. You know, your family, if they get older, they come and live with you, and that's sort of like a mentality. You take care of the older people in your family. So for me, when I moved to the US, that was really striking, that the nonchalant attitude towards that happens. And no judgment, of course. I mean, it's just a different culture, and you get used to it. But for me, was really interesting coming from like the complete opposite and educating myself. And while doing the investigation for the movie and educating myself, I was just really, you know, it's really easy for these loopholes and these holes to happen if you're not on it 24/7, which means you're not, because you're already putting someone in the house to not take care of them. So there is this kind of interesting conversation. And I think that's the intention of this movie, is to start a conversation that it is uncomfortable. It is not ideal. You know, it's like sitting down talking about politics and religion. It's not ideal because it's a sensitive subject. And that's what I really liked about Jay and the courage of writing something so controversial, because it is really controversial, because no one loves anyone more than kids, elderly, and pets, you know? And so anything that talks about something of some sort of mistreatment or abuse towards that is always, you know, controversial. But I thought, you know, why not? Why not open this conversation in the sense of this, you want to making movies that resonate in a sort of way, that stay in your head and open different conversations when you leave. So I was excited to be part of something that ideally it's not maybe for everyone, because it depends on how you deal with subjects like this, but it most definitely will be something that will make people think about their decisions in the future.
Yeah, I mean, especially now, since the elderly are so more vulnerable than ever with COVID. Yes, it's a dark satire, black comedy, but I think it should convey a message of what these administrations of these places should not do, or the company they should not keep, and just watch out for that, and do the great job you're doing.
Well, thank you so much for the conversation, and thanks for the film as well. Thanks for I Care a Lot. Director J Blakeson stars Rosamund Pike, Peter Dinklage, and Eiza Gonzalez. It's been great talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you.